Introducing a new podcast. Karen Hunter is awesome.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. So check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.
Karen Hunter is awesome. A new podcast from Karen Hunter.
We're going to talk about some of the news today in tech around Facebook announcing that they're going to be getting rid of fact checkers. They along with Amazon and Apple, went to Mar-a-Lago and have pledged $1 million to the T-Rump campaign or his inauguration fund. They gave none of that to Biden, by the way. And they all met. They all met there with Elon Musk and them. And it's interesting. So I found this article dated July 2018 on an outlet called Big Think. Big Think, they put together some pretty decent long form articles that done some good research, and it's pretty decent. So they went back and they found an interview with a KGB agent 39 years ago. He defected from Russia and he made some predictions 39 years ago. They wrote about it in 2018. So I'm going to read from the article. In 1954, early on in the Cold War, the Soviet Union created the Committee for State Security, more commonly known in the West as the KGB. The group came to oversee the Soviet Union's internal security, secret police, and domestic and foreign intelligence operations. Across the world, the KGB did whatever it could to thwart pro-Western and anti-Soviet political movements and figures. The group would assassinate political leaders with cyanide and other weapons. And we know they're still doing that. It would fund and arm leftist groups, especially those in developing nations, and the KGB successfully established moles in the United States intelligence agencies. Though the exact number isn't clear and may never be known, they have definitely done that. Okay, so they go on to talk about their goals, right? In 1984, this defector, his name is Yuri Alexandrovich Bezmenov. He defected to Canada in 1970, and he claimed to know details of a Soviet plan to undermine the United States, not on the battlefield, but in the psyche of the American public. He gave an interview in 1984 with G. Edward Griffin, from which much can be learned today. He gave some chilling points, and he talked about it. Matter of fact, we have a clip, Smiz, from a portion of that interview, so you can hear his voice. Let's play it.
Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets use the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages.
So, 85% of Russia's warfare against the United States was active measures, came in the form of active measures. This great brainwashing that Bezmenov stated. And in this article, they break it down into these 4 stages. The first stage is called demoralization. And they assessed that would take 15 to 20 years to achieve. It would take 15 to 20 years to demoralize the American people. And they were counting on the media being complicit, or at the very least, not interfering with this, because all we needed was a trusted media, to say this is happening, and then writing stories about it, and then telling us about it, and telling us how to protect ourselves. They did none of that. According to this KGB agent, this is the minimum number of years it takes to re-educate one generation of students. That's wild. Once demoralization is completed, 15, 20 years, the second stage of ideological brainwashing is destabilization. This is a 2 to 5 year period. And what matters is the targeting of essential structural elements of a nation: the economy, gas and eggs and gas and eggs and gas and eggs and gas and inflation, recession, gas and eggs and gas and eggs, inflation, recession, on a loop. Oh, we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. Ba, 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 bang that gong. Economy, foreign relations. Those people, they're coming in the country. Something's going over there. ISIS, the people, the Mexicans, the Islamic, okay, foreign relations and defense systems. Basically, Russia would look to destabilize every one of these areas in the United States. Have they done that? Did they do that? And weaken it? Have they done that? The third stage would be called crisis. It would only take 6 weeks to send a country into crisis. 6 weeks. The crisis would begin, maybe bring a violent change of power, structure. Oh, January 6th. Oh, a pandemic. Wow. And the last stage is normalization. That's when your country is basically taken over. Wow. You mean we could elect a felon that actually started an insurrection and they could get back into office because, nothing to see here. It's all normal. I remember, I forgot what movie I was watching where I think it was World War I, and they needed black soldiers. And the Germans, I think, were using a propaganda campaign for the black soldiers. Russia, during the Harlem Renaissance, there was a lot of people calling people, the whole Red Scare, McCarthyism, going around, Paul Robeson and all the folk were, there's black people being targeted, for being communists, the Red Scare. But there was an actual Red Scare to be afraid of, but it was right under your nose the whole time. So my question is tough. We're living in a world where if there is another pandemic, and I just saw like the norovirus is here, somebody died from the bird flu this week. We no longer trust science. We don't trust doctors. We don't trust masks. We don't trust vaccines. We trust nothing. We do our own research. None of us have gone to school, but we are all medically trained. It's a scary place. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a platform. There's no trusted source. Our media is co-opted. They are broken, and they will take the highest dollar that they can get, and they're not holding anybody accountable. They're just going to keep this on a loop. The fact that I could skim on my television and see the damn press conference of this fool up there saying ridiculous stuff, and they just kept it going. Nobody's checking them. And now, today, Facebook, Zuckerberg, looking like somebody from the Partridge Family, gave a press conference, which we rarely see. Matter of fact, let me play it. Play what Zuckerberg said today.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship.
Zuckerberg, didn't you sell out all of the people on your platform on Facebook and sold their information? Didn't you was it Cambridge Analytica? There's a whole documentary on that. You sold out the American people during the 2016 election. I remember, and you allow for the disinformation, misinformation campaign to rage on your platform. And now you are doing it again in our face, and you're telling us no more fact checking. You're almost a damn near $1 trillion company, but you want us to police the damn platform for you. Yeah, this is not going to end well, y'all. This is not going to end well. Now, I do still have a profile on Twitter simply to protect my name, image, and likeness, and I'm there until the last person's there. But that's not where I live. I have a Blue Sky account. I have a fan base account. But I'm not committed to that. Again, I just feel like what we need moving forward is something different. So guess what? We have our own space. Shout out to the Nubians, right? And, you know, as we're growing and building, I was in office hours last night. I actually got up this morning and watched office hours. I wasn't in there live last night, you know, but the work that Dr. Carr is doing, just him pulling out the newspapers and reading. And we're reading a book and we're watching film together and we're analyzing it with scholars. Dr. Black being there, just be in there, you know, whole scholar, just be in there, you know, not even participating necessarily in the chat. The Reverend Jeremiah Wright, just be in the Nubian space, just in there. This collection of brilliant people, I'm so proud and happy to be there, but it's not for everybody. If you are used to yelling into the void and yelling and screaming and it's your opinion and all of this, it will not be the space for you. It will not be the space for you. But we have discourse and we disagree. It's not an echo chamber, but it's where I live. It's where I live. It's where I live during the show, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6. I'm in there in the chat because I get something from it, you know, and we should be in spaces that we contribute to and receive from. And it's not just opinions flying left and right and people yelling into the void. We're actually building. I believe the woman that called, there was homeschooling her child. She called last time she called. We set up a homeschooling space in there. Now we have a master teacher, Dr. Keisha Porche, who's going to be building out a whole teacher platform inside, so that we're going to have monthly conversations with people who want to homeschool. Here's how you can augment your child's education using that. And in there already are folks sharing their lesson plans and their syllabi. They're teaching on the college level, but we are building. I mean, Michael Harry goes there for his garden. You know, there's a whole garden community, a whole, you know, farming community inside there. And of course, on Sundays, we do mental health with Dr. Narissa and on alternate Sundays with Dr. Sunyata Amin. Oh my God, so rich. And then the Meta Netra class that I can't talk enough about. And then we're going to Egypt, where we will get to read the hieroglyphs because we've taken Meta Netra and we can read them ourselves. We don't need somebody to interpret. And that's important. That's important that we are committed to knowledge. So I'm looking at what's going on in the world. It's getting worse, you know, but if we are going to survive this, and we will, because we always do, we're going to have to create the world we want to live in. And the world I want to live in is rooted in truth and rooted in actual factual history and community, rooted in people loving each other, humanity being at the forefront, right and wrong, due north. We got folk out here with platforms who make a lot of money creating the dissent, creating the division. I saw Megyn Kelly just upset. She said she watched. Here's what she said: "I just made the huge mistake of watching the much celebrated Conclave, and it is the most disgusting anti-Catholic film I have ever seen in a long time. Shame on Ray Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, and John Lithgow for starring in it, and shame on director Edward Berger." Ma'am, did you have this energy for the priests that were raping and sexually assaulting the children? I don't recall you using your platform. That's the most disgusting thing I've seen that's anti-Catholic, anti-Jesus, anti-God, is having people in authority abuse their power and assault children. 1,700 priests and clergy accused of sex abuse, unsupervised by the Catholic Church, shuffled around by the Catholic Church, not held accountable by the Catholic Church. That's more disgusting than Conclave. And I'm not going to give away the ending, but man, that ending, didn't see that coming. The mass cover up, that is shocking. And if you have the same smoke, I would give you some credit, but you don't. You cherry pick your outrage and your morality. You are a fraud, a human fraud. The dioceses and religious orders so far have shared the names of more than 5,100 clergy members, more than the 1,700. 3/4 of the names released just a few years ago. AP actually did an extensive research. 2,000 remain alive. This is over a 60, 70, and it's probably been going on since the beginning. Because people in power can't help but abuse it, I guess. I don't know. But that would be outrageous to me if I were a Catholic. 866-801-8255.